everything possible. And he had defied the demands of the world for years, and he was, believe it or not, convinced that I didn't mean what I said.
Oh, listen, but were you scared when you ordered the surge and it was like you against the world? I mean, tell me the truth.
I don't think scared's the right.
Apprehensive?
Right. No, I was convinced that that if we didn't put more troops in,
but you were
we
alone.
would lose, and if we lost, the consequences would be catastrophic. And that's why I know a lot of blood and treasure was spent, but I would ask the people to imagine what the world would look like with Saddam Hussein in power.
But did you ever project, if I do this surge and it turns into a debacle, I'm going to be going the worst? Your approval rating at the time was 30%. I'll be down to 15%. Was that apprehension?
No, I didn't think. But you got to understand, I didn't think that way.
So you thought you were going to win with the surge?
No, I knew there was some uncertainty, but I wasn't worried about my own self.
No, okay.
I was worried about our country, and I was worried about the sacrifice of those who had been wounded or lost their life in Iraq. The easy course would have been to abandon the mission.
Absolutely.
But the job of the president is to look over the horizon.
Much more ahead in this special Factor event. The interview with George W. Bush, including his thoughts on President Obama, the surge in Iraq, and Sarah Palin. All of that moments away.
The #1 cable news show for 10 years and counting. The O'Reilly Factor.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Welcome back to this special edition of The Factor, my interview with President George W. Bush. We continue with his thoughts on President Obama. One of the moments that when I interviewed then Senator Obama, I don't know whether you saw that interview or not in the campaign, but he admitted to me that he was wrong and you were right in that surge thing. And that was painful for him to admit because, as you know, he was a vociferous critic against the Iraq war. Do you ever speak to President Obama? Does he seek your counsel on anything?
No. He did call me and ask me to join with President Clinton to help raise money for the people down there in Haiti, and I was more than happy to participate.
So that was the last call?
Well, no, he called me right before his speech. He gave a military speech on Iraq. And he was heading into Texas and gave me a heads up that what he was going to say in the speech, and I was grateful for that. But I don't expect to be called by President Obama, nor do I expect to be called by whoever follows President Obama.
Well, if I'm elected, I'm going to call you. Is that all right?
If you're elected, I'll be in total shock, so I won't be able
so
to
you won't be able
phone.
to speak. Yeah. Don't speak. You won't be the only one. All right, now let's get to the Haiti thing. You and President Clinton joined forces, raised money for Haiti. You raised about $60 million in that, and then another almost $1 billion. Money hasn't gotten to the island yet. $1.5 million still.
The $1 billion. We didn't raise $1 billion.
No, you raised 60.
We raised a
your
small
initiative.
Right.
Okay, but overall, charitable giving by Americans just under $1 billion.
Yeah. Okay.
Money hasn't gotten to the island. State Department has some that's held up. A year after the earthquake, almost 1.5 million people living in the streets of Haiti. I said at the time, I gave money and I told people to give money, but I said don't expect it to do a lot of good.
Well, I think the people, first of all, I can only speak to the nearly $60 million that we raised, and it's doing good.
How do you know?
Well, because I've got some people, or Bill and I have got people running our program who are results-oriented people who report to us about the progress being made. For example, we're helping mango farmers get crop from the field to the ports so that Coca-Cola will have steady product for their juices. We're helping a prosthesis manufacturer make limbs for people in Haiti. We're putting money into higher education, so there's a tangible evidence that the building that we're helping construct is working. In other words, and ours is a drop in the bucket. I realize that, but it's an opportunity for Americans to do some good. And I was not going to be a part of a program that kind of just threw money and felt good about ourselves.
But it's a disaster down there as far as the folks are concerned.
No, it is, yeah, it is. I've been down there, and you're right, it's very difficult. And the government needs to have a strategy, and the United Nations needs to say to the government, develop a strategy so that the rest of us can feel comfortable about positive developments. It's a tragic situation.
It's chaos.
Terrible. And thank you for contributing to it.
You're welcome. So in your book, Decision Points,
Off camera, he's giving me jazz. I'm not interested in the book. I'll tattoo it right here. Decision Points. Come on, everybody knows the name of the book. I mean, you and Oprah, you're running around. That's the biggest. I'm a flea.
Just
Oprah.
a tiny little dude out there.
I saw Oprah running down Rush Street in Chicago with your book. She's just waving it around.
Okay, fine. You made your point.
What do you want from me? All right. Were you surprised John McCain lost?
I was disappointed he lost, and
You think any of it was your fault?
I think the fact, first of all, if you're the head of the party and your popularity isn't good, it makes a drag for Senator McCain or John to deal with. But I think the financial crisis made it awfully difficult for him to win, and plus he had a generational issue he had to deal with. I mean, we had a young president that nobody hardly knew, and an older guy, and I think generational politics affected my dad's campaign, for example, in '92.
Yeah, against Clinton, sure.
Yeah. And so these were factors beyond his control. And, I've seen a lot of campaigns, and some of them are just, the circumstances are such that you just can't win, no matter how good a person you are, no matter how articulate you are on issues. And,
Did he call you during the campaign for advice or anything like that?
Not really, and I
No.
didn't expect him to, because he's busy.
Oh, I know he was
I
busy.
mean, running for president, you don't have a lot of time for idle chit-chat, and when you do have spare time, you want to rest.
Sarah Palin, his VP choice, a very controversial woman. Do you know her?
I met her when I think. Here are the times I clearly remember meeting her. Once when we had a reception for governors at the White House. Secondly, when I went overseas and stopped in Alaska for a refueling stop. And thirdly, when she came to see, she and her husband Todd came to see Laura and me at our house in Dallas. And I like her.
You thought it was a good choice?
I think that John McCain, I think it energized the party. I mean, there was a moment where people were kind of in the doldrums, and Sarah Palin arrived, and boom.
Were you surprised that McCain selected her?
I didn't know who he's going to select. I mean, he didn't consult with me, and whoever we would have picked would have been a surprise to me, because
You had no idea.
I wasn't a part of the process, nor should I have been.
Still to come as we move along, President Bush talks about the Republicans in 2012. Then, some of the smartest minds in the business react to the interview with Mr. Bush. Right back.